What's going on, everybody? It's me, Mark. Welcome back to uh, what I would like to call an emergency episode of Blerdkast Live. Here on Blerdkast Live, every other week, we normally highlight people within nerdy spaces, but today, Blerdkast Live is here to save a nerdy space, and I would like to welcome our special guest of honor today, Mr. Tony Cade. Welcome back to the show.
How you guys doing today?
We're doing wonderful, and I would like to welcome my co-host with the most, the wonderful, the talented Joy Stevens. Let's have a moment of joy.
Hello, everyone. Happy and excited, proud to be here to save my favorite nerdy space. I mean, I'm happy to be helping with this endeavor. Yes.
Perfect. That is perfect. So, like I said, tonight, this whole episode is dedicated to challenges, games, and comics. For those of you who do not know, there's a situation there. We're going to let Tony explain in a moment. But tonight, if you can, please open up your heart, open up your wallet, and go to the link in the description to the Challenges, Games, and Comics GoFundMe. The link is also in the crawl. It's in all the descriptions of wherever you may be watching. It's all over Facebook. It's all over anything Blerdography has been doing. If you can, just give it till it hurts. Tony needs so much love and care and attention right now, and the community has been coming out in droves showing support for Mr. Cade. So please, if you can, go and donate. But Mr. Tony Cade, since you're the guest of honor, since you know exactly what you're going through right now, why don't you give some of the people who are a little out of the loop of current events? Yes. Why don't you go ahead and explain what's going on?
Well, what had happened was, no. All right. This is a quick situation. All right. Back on the 29th of May, at the end of business day, I believe it was a Friday. All right. I get an email from the corporate offices of the company that owns the mall, letting me know that they are activating a clause in my contract, which says that if they want and stuff, I can be asked to leave with just 30 days notice. All right. And this is a contract that I originally signed when I first moved in.
20 years ago.
It was 3 years ago.
Okay.
All right. It was a contract originally signed 3 years ago. And that's because it was a temporary 1 year contract to see the way they explained it, to see if I would be a good fit for the mall. All right. Now, after that time period, though, I've never signed a new lease with the mall. But they basically, what I found out is like, first day I was panicking, like, is this real? So I emailed back to corporate office, never got a response. Then I called the general manager of the mall, who didn't pick up at that time. But later on that evening, when I was at home, he did give me a call back. And that's when he informed me that the mall was being sold. All right. And at that point, I was pretty much like, there is no way I can be out of here in 30 days. Any way, shape, or form. It took me 90 days to get in here. Lesson on, being able to leave within 30 days. It's just not going to happen. All right. So at that evening, I actually started looking, online to see, what spaces might be available, in the area that I could possibly, move the store to. All right. That Monday, they send a flyer around by security saying that on on Wednesday at 10:30, there is going to be a meeting with mall management and the vendors. All right. Because at that point, like I said, I thought I had done something wrong. It wasn't until then that I realized that everybody on the interior of the mall had gotten the same notice and that we were all being asked to leave within 30 days. All right. At that point, I actually reached out to some different, news channel connections that I had, to see if they could find some more information about what was going on. When that Thursday came by at 10:30, there were 12 vendors waiting at the lower staircase at 10:30 to meet with mall management, and mall management never showed up.
Wow.
All right. We were told by security that they would be reaching out to us individually to talk to us. as soon as the general manager arrived on the property. Today's date is the 15th on a Monday. I have yet to see the general manager.
Still.
So at this point, we're like 15 days in to a 30-day, get out of here.
So you got 2 weeks to vacate everything. They're not. I mean, you can't even like still be working on moving stuff out. Like technically vacate, but still have stuff there that you're trying to move. A little storage, something, week to week, something.
We have gotten no information whatsoever. Basically, I did what I could do. I talked to like over a 2-day period. I had like 8 interviews with like every TV station and newspaper here in Atlanta. Just about, it felt like
you did.
And, some of the like the gold booth upstairs. They're the ones and stuff with the deep pockets, and so they were going to like reach out to lawyers and stuff like that, and then keep the rest of us informed. But as of this date, I have heard nothing. And then recently and stuff, some news came out about a potential buyer for the mall. But that's all we've heard.
But if there's a potential buyer for the mall, do you still have to vacate, or is it something you renegotiate with them? Like, are they selling the mall contingent on it being empty, or is that even something you know?
We have gotten no information. And that's the bad thing about it. They've given us nothing.
This is worse than New York landlords, man. Slumlords,
Well, like I said, I've gone through something like this, before over at North DeKalb Mall, which we were at for like 10 years. But we knew that the property was going to be redeveloped. Everything was like up front. And so we knew it was coming. So I was able to like save money, clear room on credit cards, get ready. And then when it did happen, they gave us 90 days, which, we all thought was fair and, doable, especially considering we had pre-warning.
Right.
In this situation, there was no pre-warning whatsoever. There was no talk about the mall being up for sale or them possibly closing the interior. And then all of a sudden we get the thing saying, get out in 30 days.
Yeah.
With no backup information whatsoever.
Well, I don't know about the price differential, but I know there's plenty of empty spaces in Atlantic Station. Specifically, there was a spot that used to be a like Black woman owned shop that hosted a lot of other small businesses that needed like brick and mortar. So it was a shop that housed a lot of other very small Black businesses. The sister shop, as a matter of fact, is what it was called, and they gone. So that spot is open. It's right across from Publix. Well, Publix is gone too, so it's right across from where Publix used to be. So, and I feel like from a square footage standpoint, I'm just throwing out ideas,
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, I've had people and stuff, telling me about all the empty spaces. One of the problems is that, all right, the going rate for square footage here in the Atlanta area is basically $25 a square foot. So it's like when you come into my store and you're standing there, you're standing in 2 square feet. So those 2 square feet are supposed to pay in rent $50 a month for just those spots that you were sitting in. Standing in. And that's one of the problems. Is like with a gaming store, not every square footage is retail sales.
right?
And so it doesn't actually produce that type of money. Like I said, I've been, up front with like real estate agents and the people that I've, talked to. And it's like, even when I moved here to this mall, in the last mall I was in, I straight up tell them, it's like, look, you're not going to get a bunch of money out of my store. All right. My base products here in the store only average about $5. And let's be honest, there's really nothing in here that you can't go and get online, either on Amazon or Temu. All right. Which is the way it is with like most retail.
Yeah.
What I offer is community, and I will bring traffic to whatever area I go to. Like right now and stuff, it's like, the one vendor we have left in the food court ask me every single week, what you got going on? You got an event? What's, you know,
I
because
know exactly who you're talking about because she's
Right.
standing there with the little samples every time we come through
Right.
there. Yeah.
you know, because that's how they make their money. You know, there's going to be like the church crew that comes in, you know, on Sundays to get food. All right. And then there's going to be like all the people that I bring in for my tournaments and events.
Right.
Like I said, you know, like this past, you know, weekend, or just to say, take Saturday. All right. We had a HeroClix tournament going on. We had Magic the Gathering meetup going on. We had Warhammer going on. And I actually had authors and directors that have worked on projects for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know, doing a panel, you know, and people showed up, you know, for all those things. We're a packed house. Now, did I make $50 each one of those people in here? No. You know, I'd be lucky, like I said, if I made 5. But the food court made out like bandits because those people are in my shop for like 4 or 5 hours, and they're gonna go over there and they're gonna get something to eat. So, you know, my shop is for the community, and I support the community around me.
Now we're going to go back to the community in a second, but I do want to bring out a good point. Like, again, you said that you may not be making money per every square foot in your store, but you are providing not only a service to the nerdy community of Atlanta, but you are bringing foot traffic in to the area and to the local businesses around you. If you're not making money, definitely some businesses around you are, like the restaurant, the food court in question, even the bar upstairs. When I would go up there, I would just go get some wings and have a beer, and then come back down and play some Magic or something, or buy some comics, or whatever the case may be, what was going on. And on top of that, you have ASFE. You did 2 years of ASFE at North Lake Mall, and from what I remember, the owners at the time were begging you to do it quarterly because it brought in so much traffic. So you are doing great things for the community, which is why the community, like myself, is reaching out and doing everything that we can to help you and bring awareness to your situation. But I do want to ask, before we bring on our first guest, I do want to ask, as of right now, with you only having 15 days left, what is your immediate plan?
My immediate plan is to keep working. Like I said, we don't have a spot right now. I've put out bids. I've had offers. None of the offers are anything that I want to take. You know, like I said, I actually have representatives from Underground Atlanta pop up in the store and say, hey, we'd like to have you at Underground Atlanta. But my customers aren't going to travel from here down to Underground Atlanta. I've had people who have like places in historic buildings near Georgia State said, hey, you know, come on down here, you know, and we'll, you know, put you right here at Georgia State, and, you know, you'll have all those kids as your customers. And I'm pretty much like, don't they have a student center? Can they go play and do whatever they want to do over there?
Bruh, no. I think you might be underestimating where your constituency lives. Like Underground Atlanta, you may lose some people that are used to like biking up to where your store is now, but you might gain a F ton of other people that won't come out to North Lake Mall, you know?
Right.
Because I know even for me, mind you, I've gotten all my ink at your shop, but it do be a ride. And I'm just saying, think about that. I mean, Underground, and you got the name of I'm in Underground Atlanta, like, you know, that carries weight with tourists, you know.
Right.
I'm just
be a more heavily populated area. You know, they're doing FIFA right now in that area. You're gonna have nothing but traffic. You might lose a couple of customers, but what you're gonna gain because of the location alone might be something to consider. Even if you take the Georgia State route and do something around there, like that's where I go to work at. So like it's nothing for me to go up 7585 to come to your store versus going to Tucker. But I understand you have a bigger client base that's on that side of town that you don't want to neglect because they have been there for you from the beginning. And I do understand that, but they
also got cars. If they're coming over there, they got to ride.
Marta's more
connected. It's about cars. It's like I have heard from many customers. It's like even like, you know, 3 years ago, we were offered a spot down in Ponce Highland. and they were just like, yeah, we don't want to pay for parking.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Ponce and Highland is a different situation. Like if I use the Atlantic Station example, you got 2 free hours in there. I mean, and then even if you come into play or whatever, there's validation because the movies does it. Or it's $5 to be there all night if they wanted to be gaming. You could be a whole secondary like franchise out from Battle and Brew and have Battle and Brew Atlantic Station or Battle and Brew Underground. And they also get them to finance you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that I'm throwing out stuff that you've already thought through. I'm just saying it's a whole lot of other people. If you think about how people will come to you, wherever you are, especially the ones that are loyal. If they will drive all the way to DC for BlerdCon, then they could drive downtown.
Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out here and stuff. For years, I was on Memorial Drive here in Atlanta, and I left there 13 years ago. And I picked up a whole bunch of customers after I left Memorial Drive. Like I said, there's certain areas and stuff that people are more inclined to visit and travel to, or they feel safe there.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair.
Underground would not be that.
Well, I wouldn't say that because they are changing up that area. I just saw they finally finished all the construction with a lot of the MARTA stations. 5 Points look like a different train station now. That area of downtown Atlanta is getting cleaned up pretty nice. The underground people are trying to renovate that area. They are actively trying to make downtown Atlanta more international, if that makes sense. So it might be a good opportunity. It's not the old 5 Points of back in my high school days where we go downtown for a concert and you got worried about being out certain.
You're robbing little 5 Points, yeah.
Right, little 5 Points area for Forsyth Street. I know that used to be rough, but it's not the same area that it was even 10 years ago.
Okay. Like I said, I'll keep it in mind. Like I said, they've made offers. Yeah. We shall see.
We shall see. But with that said, since you are here to help out the community, I would like to bring some of the members of the community up that have been fans in your corner from day one. I would like to bring out our special surprise guests, Ms. Marilyn Teague and Ms. Tanya Wood. Hi, everybody. Marilyn, you there?
She was in the chat just a second ago.
She was. But how are you doing, Tanya?
I'm good.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, tell us, Tanya, how long have you known Tony Cade, and how long have you been a customer of Challenger?
I always have to put Tony down as my longest known friend on those neat security checks. I've known Tony 4/5 of my life. I've known him, I think I figured it out the other day. I've known him 45 years, 44 years. We met on MARTA. I think in between like King Memorial and what station is that right in front of it? Anyway, we were going to the Atlanta Fantasy Fair, which was an early convention here in Atlanta that they used to have at the Omni. Back before the Omni had the second Omni building and all the hotel and all that kind of stuff. And we met on the train. I was just as a Jellicle Cat from Cats because I was trying to come up with a costume really quick. And I remember that I made, because I didn't want to be running around with just a tail, I had made this skirt out of an umbrella. I remember cutting up an umbrella that morning and being like, oh yeah, this will work. So I had this tattered umbrella skirt situation in my tail and my ears. And I used to have giant hair because it was the 80s and you would just spray it and pull it and spray it some more. And the goal was to be flammable. But yeah, so I met Tony on the train. And of course, he had his camera. He was you back in the day. Tony did a lot of photography at all of Atlanta's earliest conventions. And I'm sure he still has lots of photos from when people just made costumes, and we made them out of all sorts of things. It was well before the days of 3D printing. The big name at the time, I think, was probably Joe Phillips, and Joe was using furniture foam and like latex house paint to make these giant monster costumes. But yeah, so I've known Tony a very long time. I think I've probably first shopped at the flea market location because I was at grad school, I think, when you were on Highland before. When you had the basement space, I missed that. So I think the first time I shopped in, well, back before it was called Challenges, back when it was a Dragon's Horde, I think I first shopped at the flea market location, which might have been, I don't know, the late 90s,
And
maybe.
like I said, before we were the Dragon's Horde, uh, the spot that we had was down on Monroe Drive near the Fox, and that's when we had a little thing called Midtown Studios. And Quantum Comics was actually one of the businesses we had there, where my buddy Don Hillsman, who was actually up here at the shop a little while ago, he was a professional skateboarder and comic book illustrator. He had his art studio there. I at the time was I had my photography studio, and my buddy Tim Cummings had the comic book shop, and I was supposed to be a quote unquote silent partner, but I wasn't very silent.
God,
So
this
there's been
thing.
many iterations. So I think I picked up at the Dragon's Horde at the flea market, and from the flea market, you were in the spot that I think of as 31 Flavors. And then I think you moved to a bigger spot in the same shopping center.
Well, technically, we were over in what used to be we were in the flea market. Then I moved to the next shopping center over, where the Kroger used to be.
Right.
And then when the flea market, one of the flea market vendors went and bought the building next door, he basically convinced me to come back over, and that's when we got our largest spot at that time, which was 2,000 square feet, and that's when it
Which
was
had been a 31 Flavors when I was like in high school.
not. That was actually two doors over.
It was?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So you had the 31 flavors. All right. Then you had the barber shop. Then you
Was
had
it
something else, and then it was the
was it
payments.
was it the Merrill Norman?
I don't remember.
I think maybe it was the Merrill Norman. So yes, Tony has been in many different spots.
Yeah, like I said,
And
I've known
I
Tanya since she was in high school.
yeah,
Back when what Stonemont High School was majority white.
yes.
Hmm.
Most of the kids were what was it called? M to M. They were being bussed in. Yep.
Hmm.
Way
Um,
back in the day.
Way back in the day.
I remember my first time shopping at Tony's was, I believe he was at Dragon's Horde at the time. And then you was outside of North DeKalb Mall for a bit. Then you was inside North DeKalb Mall. Whatever the era of between when Pokemon came out, the card game, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering, the later editions of that. That's when I started shopping with you and remembering you. We just had Miss Marilyn Teagues on. Marilyn, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh no. Okay. Okay. But Miss
Sorry.
Marilyn, no problem. Miss Marilyn Teagues, she has also known Mr. Tony Cade for a while. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to know Mr. Tony Cade?
Okay, well, I'll make this really quick. I'm a native Atlantan person. I've loved, uh, I go to all the science fiction conventions, uh, starting with Atlanta Comics and Fantasy Fair. And then after that, I was at Dragon Con. I'm still at Dragon Con. Uh, I remember, I think we were at Dunphy's Royal Coach Hotel, and this little kid came up to me and he was telling me about how much he loved comic books. And I said, "Oh, that's great." And I noticed that, there really were not very many black people there, like me and him and one other guy, and one black female. I didn't get her name, but don't know who that was. But anyway, it was just like, uh, it was Tony Cade, uh, cute kid at the time. I still cute, yeah. But anyway, I just, he I didn't need to tell him anything because he knew about comics and he knew about who the artists were. I really didn't know all that much. I was selected to be the chairperson of the Comics and Fantasy Fair for 1 or 2 years, straw boss. I didn't do much, but I loved doing costuming and masquerades. And but Tony was, unique because he stood out. He was articulate, and he knew the business. He knew about comic books, and I just thought, that was impressive. And I only saw him like once, 2 or 3 days within the convention, and then I wouldn't see him again until another year later. And you know, um, he was okay. He was like a smart kid.
Okay, okay. Now let me ask you, because I know you have a lot of funny stories of Tony. Do you happen to have, or would you be willing to share one of your favorite memories of Mr. Tony Cade?
One of my favorite what?
Memories.
Memories. Oh my goodness. Well, that was just it. I mean, he I don't know if he knew my son. I think he knew my son, Chris White. Uh, the black kids kind of hung out together. Um, they just kind of ran around the convention, and I didn't know where they were most of the times. They would come and go, but I just had them, check in every now and then. Um, there wasn't really much. He didn't do anything outrageous. So I guess he just kind of blended in. What I mean by outrageous, some of the kids were a bit boisterous. We had to like calm them down and tell them not to run in the halls. But I just remember Tony being really a smart kid who, I'm sorry if I keep calling you a kid, Tony. Um, but he was just, he just enjoyed being in that atmosphere.
Okay, okay. What about you, Tanya? What is your favorite memory of Mr. Cade, since y'all have been such close friends for so long?
Well, I knew that this was going to come up, so I was thinking about it last night. And I don't know if Tony remembers, but he taught me how to drive stick. And he had this ancient brown, what is it, a Datsun?
Was it a Datsun? No, it was a Celica.
Was it a Celica?
Yeah, it was a brown Celica.
I just remember Tony attempting to teach me how to drive stick and us driving around like in my neighborhood late at night with me stalling it every time on the same hill. And yeah, there you go. My funnest random memory of Tony. That, and of course his one, I think you maybe cosplayed twice at this point, but at one point he surprised me and did a Blade cosplay, and he went all in. He had the head tattoo and everything, and I think I was probably in graduate school, and I flew back just for Dragon Con, and I think I was working like probably guest services, and I think I was upstairs in the party suite, and he just came rolling in, and I looked over and was like, because it was so surprising, because Tony isn't really the dress up kind of a guy. But he went all in. He had the shades. He was committed. I could appreciate it. I was
my one and only cosplaying experience.
But if you're gonna go hard, go home.
Never again.
Go hard, go home. And you went for it, and I appreciate that. That was also the evening of the assless red leather chaps. I don't know if you remember that or not.
What? What? No, you can't say that and not explain.
That wasn't me.
No, you might not have noticed, but that same party, there was a group of people. It was like a suite. So there was a living room, and over on one side of the living room, I noticed that there's all these people congregated looking at something. So of course I go wandering over to see, well, what is going on here? And it was a scene, and there was a pair of assless red leather chaps, paddle involved.
Oh yes, the wild wild parties.
The Wild Wild
Dragon
Party.
Con. Whatever you're into, it was there.
Yeah, it can definitely happen at Dragon Con. Dragon Con is like Vegas. All sorts of things. And I actually think it's probably toned down now compared to like the 90s. I think it was a bit wilder in the 90s and the early odds.
Yes, the
Interesting.
90s were a wonderful time.
Yeah, the 90s. I just remember there being like now you have these kind of big public space things and there still are room parties, but back in like the 90s and the early aughts, everybody had a room party. So you just kind of wander for hours from party to party and you'd be like, whose room is this? Whose party is this? Who are these people?
You know, the
And
one party with the leather and lace, another
yeah,
party with the furries, you
yeah.
know, another party with the LBGTQ, community.
Then there'd
It
be
was like whatever you
the
wanted, it was there.
amalgamations in the hallway because people would spill out into the hallway and now there's just a hallway party. And maybe that was the genesis of, the big lobby parties. It's just the excess overflow from falling out of the hotel rooms.
But there still weren't enough of us to do a black party.
No, this is true. There are now though, and there's is such a thing. But yeah, back in the day, we always talk about how there were like 10 black people in Atlanta fandom spaces, and we all knew each other.
We all
And we
knew each
still
other.
all know each other.
Oh,
A couple of people have disappeared over the years, and I'm like, I don't know where they are. And then there's a couple of people that have moved away, but we're still in contact with, like Joe and Lex. They now live in San Diego, but we still keep in contact with them, and we see them from time to time. But yeah, back
Oh,
in
if you ever get a chance to, you need to get Joe Phillips on your show. The man is ultra talented, very talented artist and costumer. And he was doing it back in the day.
back in the day, him and Fiona Leonard, Baroness Boom Boom. They, like I said, Joe was making stuff out of literally, he was carving like furniture foam and then painting it with like latex paint. And he was making just giant foam suits, like all kinds of monsters and creature characters. And in fact, I think really, if you talk to him, he was the genesis for the way that costuming is now judged, because he was taking home the prize every year. And so that was when they first introduced this idea of journeyman, novice, and whatever, because he had to be in a category by himself. It wasn't fair for everybody to show up and look over and be like, oh yeah, there's a 7-foot pink alien over there in a tutu. I'm not going to win anything at this thing. And so that was the first time that I remember seeing that. I think it might have been a fantasy fair. Remember they used to award the dealers bucks?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first time that I recall that. It
did we
might
lose a picture?
have been an early Dragon Con. I can't remember. Oh, there's some of us. There's Karen, Jordan, there's Don. Who's the person in front of you, Tom?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, did we lose audio on?
Yeah, who's
I hear you now, but I don't.
In front of me is Dwight Clark.
Oh, really?
And then, of course, there's, Michael Daly right there beside me.
Right.
Okay. Oh, in that big picture. Okay.
That doesn't look
But
like
no, they
him.
actually
I've seen
popped
him
up
with the
today
beard.
and surprised me. And I'm like, oh man, this is like the true OG crew.
Yeah, I've
Cute.
never seen Dwight with a beard. That's why I'm like, that's Dwight. Gotta lean in close to the monitor.
That's strange thing. It's like, how young do you think the youngest person in that group is?
Oh,
Come
I'm
on,
going
you
to
guess
answer
now.
because you said it in the pre-show, so I'm not going to answer.
29,
no.
In that group?
53?
30. I don't know.
53.
That group?
I'm saying 53.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Tanya?
I said 53.
53. The youngest person in that picture is 58 years old.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. And that's Dwight. Dwight, who probably looks the oldest, is the youngest of the group.
Okay.
I did not realize Karen was that much older than me. I always thought that she was just a year or two. But then again, a year
I
or
don't
two
hear
is-
Tanya anymore. Is she talking?
Yes.
Yeah, she's talking.
I'm waxing poetic, but yes, I am.
And Karen is exactly 1 year older than me. We have the exact same birthday.
No kidding. Wow.
Now,
Oh, there
let
she
me ask.
is. Okay.
Now, let me ask. Before we go, Tanya, Marilyn, what would you like to see the future of challenges now that Tony's in this predicament? I don't want to say predicament. This situation. What would you want to see challenges and games and comments go from this point?
I think that Tony has always been resilient, and he's had to move before. He's had to wonder if his customers were going to move with him before. I'd like to also point out that Tony does a lot beyond just hosting the games and the things that actually benefit the store. For years, Tony has hosted like after school tutoring sessions and had folks that came in and used his space for after school tutoring went on for what? I don't know. It still goes on. It's gone on for years and years. Young artists, he would give away paper, the blue line paper they use when they do professional comic. He would give them that paper. He would give them pens. He's looked out for a lot of people well beyond just buying things in the store, just shopping in the store. If you shopped in the store, you know that Tony is great for making recommendations. I think a lot of younger fans have probably been introduced to any number of card games and new titles because Tony is always quick to say, "Hey, if you like that, you'll probably love this," or "Have you tried this band?" And he's giving away a lot of free product. It might be an older book, it might be a demo deck, but he's really been there for the community. So I'm sure that he's going to find a spot. When I talked to him the other day, he was talking about people driving, and I told him, I was like, people leave their house every week and drive 30-45 minutes to eat somewhere.
True.
He should think of challenges in the same way. People who are your customers that drive, if they I think probably your average customer does come in maybe once a week, twice. You've got people who come in the game and they probably come in a bit more, but just like the Gundam folks, the comic folks, if they're coming in once a week, I think True Blue customers are going to make the drive. We're at a weird time now where there aren't that many brick and mortars left. So I think people understand the value in that. And yes, you could get it off of Amazon, but what you can't get off of Amazon is the community. You
True.
aren't going to talk with Tony. You're not going to talk with Cayman. You're not going to have somebody that can tell you about some other writer that's also on this book. They can't point you to similar genres. Those things are missing when everything that you buy is online and coming from some third party seller who's really just kind of disinterested. So I think that those things are important. I think people understand the value in that. And, just hopefully he'll be able to, get the funding that he needs to make kind of a rush move. I mean, hopefully the mall will do the right thing. But, I'm always a pessimist when it comes to, certain entities doing the right thing. And when it's corporations and money involved, they're going to do the best thing for them. It doesn't usually matter to them. They aren't as concerned. So yeah, so I hope that he finds a spot. I've always been rallying for him to buy his own standalone building, because then you can do what you want. You can have the hours that you want.
True.
But we never know. Anything could happen.
True.
And he's been very fortunate. So I'm going to assume that fortune will continue to favor him, and it'll be fine.
True. Marilyn, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah,
Can you
nothing
hear
you
us?
heard.
Okay. But thank you both so much for coming on. We're gonna bring up our next guest. We're gonna put y'all on the backstage, or y'all can bounce if y'all want to. But thank y'all so much for coming
I'm
on.
still not hearing anything.
You still can't hear us? All right. James, why don't you go ahead and move them to the backstage, and you can come on up, and I'll talk with you in the background. All right. Oh, sorry. Bye. Now, Tony, you have done a lot for the community. Like Tanya just said, you have done a lot, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But first, we got to talk about these indie comics that you be having in your store, and a lot of the creators that you bring in the store to to let sell their books and create in your store, and the comics you have yourself created in your store. So I brought up our guy in the chair, James, who's an avid shopper at your store and very famously known for getting into arguments with some of these indie creators about their works. So welcome to the show, James. How are you? Welcome back, Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wouldn't say I get into arguments. I just point out facts.
That's true. That's true. But there have been several times I send you at the shop with Marcus Williams or Greg Burnham or whoever the case may be, and you are excitedly engaged.
James likes to tussle. I don't know what you're talking about.
That makes me seem like I just look for trouble. That is,
I mean, that's what I meant when I said it. That's why you laughing. It's funny because it's true.
I don't go.
Are you arguing with me right now?
No. But you ain't telling the whole truth.
Checkmate.
But let's continue this. Mr. Tony Cade, you created Terminus Media. There we go. It's right there on my tongue. Terminus Media. You have brought in so many different indie comics and writers and illustrators into your store. You constantly promote them. You created a convention just to highlight some of them. So let's talk about the indie comic scene. The indie comic scene right now is big, and I think you personally had a lot to deal with it. So why use your space, your nerdy space of your comic book shop, to help promote indie creators?
Well, for one thing, people need to have a place and stuff where people can know that they could go and find the books. A lot of people come to the store and they want to support indie creators. And, by having my indie creator wall here in the store, I'm able, to provide them with the source material that they want. And, I always tell the creators is like, I have no problem, carrying your book, but it's up to you to market your book, so that people know to look at it when they come into a store like mine. One of the things and stuff I usually do, people ask is like, well, will you carry, my book in your store? And I'm like, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll go ahead and stuff and let you come do a signing here at the store, and you get to sell your book. You get 100% of the profits. Okay, I'm going to sit back and watch and see how well your marketing has brought people in for your signing, and also the reactions of people to your book. All right. After they've done their signings, all right, if, let's just say, the arbitrary, feeling that I might have about the book afterwards, I would just straight out buy copies of the books and put them on my shelf and sell them. But I always leave it up to them and stuff. It's like, okay, show me, that your book has the quality that people want, and show me that you're going to do the marketing for the book that's going to sell it in my store. I always like to bring up Marcus Williams and Greg Burnham with Tuskegee Airs. These guys do a tremendous job of marketing their books. All right. And they will tell you that except for them, I have sold more Tuskegee Airs than anybody else in the entire country. But it's because they do such a good job of marketing it. And I make sure that I keep the titles on my shelf. And I repeatedly sell out of them and have to hit Greg up all the time for more copies of the book. They've only got 4 issues out, but those 4 issues sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're good.
They're really good. Their work is amazing. The story is really good, and representation of Black people in comics, which is something that we didn't have a lot of, is really great. Have you had to reject anybody from letting them sell their books in your store?
Yes.
Okay.
Because shelf space is valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I'm already making space for the indie comics on my shelves. It'd be much easier for me to sell a Batman comic than it'll be, especially if it's an absolute Batman, than like any indie title. All right. And so, my thing is to, sell as many books as possible. All right, it doesn't do me any good to put a book on the shelf and people look at it and they're not going to buy it.
Right.
That's why I said I give everybody a test. All right, I'm going to let you come sign in my store for free. Let's see if you can sell your book.
Mm.
After you have marketed that you're doing a signing here. And how well is your social media marketing? And who shows up? And then after they see your work, do they praise it? Or do they best put the book back down?
Mm.
Mm. Fair enough.
If you do a horrible job marketing it, or people don't like the quality of it, then I'm sorry, I can't carry it.
So I have a question for you. Let me rephrase it because that was about to be petty and ugly. Okay, I have another question for you.
Go for it.
What have been some of your favorite indie comics that you've discovered along, in the past let's just say the past 10 years?
Well, of course, I'm going to mention Tuskegee Heirs.
Yes.
That book, like I said, it's an awesome book. Shoot, almost anything that Greg writes is good.
Sure.
Just having Marcus's artwork on it, it's just a plus.
Marcus is the devil. Every time I see him,
Yes, he
he's like,
is.
"You should buy this gorgeous picture." And I was like, "I don't have any money, Marcus." And he holds me up by my ankles. He's
See?
like, you got quarters in your pockets. And the next thing you know,
Not
I
just
got a
me.
wall full of Marcus's artwork that I never planned to buy. But
Marcus is so talented. He is the person that I always say is literally printing money. He brings his printer with him to shows and everything. If something sells out, he will print more. And it's just print money.
I bought some of those.
I have definitely busted the piggy bank and took some money out of rent to get a couple of prints at a con, and it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Yeah, I get a lot of compliments on the stuff of his that I have on my walls. Matter of fact, I have Afua Richardson on one side of my television, and it's a Love Jones inspired picture of T'Challa and
Storm.
No.
Not Storm.
Lupita's character.
Nakia.
And they're like all lovey-dovey. On the other side of the TV is Marcus's version of Storm, and she's kind of side-eyeing this way, and so it looks like she's looking at them. And
I see
that's
what
I got around my television. It was really awesome. But so my okay. Besides Tuskegee Heirs, or besides Greg and Marcus, what other indie comics do you favor?
Definitely stuff by Robert Jeffrey.
Oh yeah.
I love Robert stuff. Especially like Route 3. And I'm just saying that because I was editor in chief on it. But he produces some really nice books.
Mm-hmm.
So I like carrying his books, and then the Chonga series by Milton Davis. And also Robert Jeffrey. That one is a pretty nice seller, here in the store. And Noble Ward does some good stuff, with Vegas baby stuff. I mean, like I said, there's so much local talent here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Of putting out some really good books. It's like, what is it? I took, on Free Comic Book Day? I took a picture with the guy that just had it here signing, just to show is like, the rappers get all the credit. We got to push some of these, indie comic creators out there too, because Atlanta has some really great talent.
Mm-hmm. So my petty question
Uh-oh.
was going to be, you don't have to name names. We don't want to drag nobody, but can you think of any comics that you thought, nah, this ain't gonna work, and maybe why did you think, or why didn't it work?
Of course, now I can, remember the names of any of them.
Good.
Okay, but basically a situation where the quality wasn't there, and it's one of those things and stuff when it comes to indie comics, especially right now. We're in the computer age, all right, and even though we do look down on everybody who uses AI, as we should. All right, we've got a situation and stuff where you've got the technology. You can put out books just as good, if not better, than those put out by Marvel and DC.
Yes.
Now, they've got the ability to market better than you and publish more titles on a regular basis than you. All right. But as far as quality is concerned, they have no advantage.
Mhm.
So, you need
And
to
there used to be a barrier, but it's not anymore.
and you can have a good story
Mhm.
and you can have good art.
Mhm.
Well, let's say you have it on lettering. That subpar lettering will take away from the story and it'll take away from the art. You've got to have like everything nice and everything together.
Mhm.
Like I said, if you can't find a good colorist to color your book, don't do a color book.
Mm.
Do it in black and white. Lean into that manga style.
Yeah.
But put out a product that you're proud to put out that people are going to respond to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good
speaking of that, the color part, I think some creators get lost in that they need to have color pages. I just finished reading Seventh Kingdom by R.J. Atkinson
I was
last
about
week,
to bring that one up.
and it is a phenomenal book. It's in black and white.
Yeah.
It's
And it's
wholly
gorgeous.
entirely and it's beautiful. Like I'm found myself like, wait, look what happened on that previous page, and I'm just staring at the artwork in there, more so than just trying to absorb the story. So like I said, I just finished it last week and probably started reading it again. But yeah, color makes things pop. I'm not going to deny that, but again, you can do great artwork in black and white.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I've seen some pages where the black and white looks superior to the color product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I was
think
like,
about
y'all should
Sin
just
City
stuck with the black and white.
Mhm.
yeah. Sin City's one of them. Since we're talking about the color versus black and white thing, this is off subject, but Spider-Man Noir just came out on Amazon Prime. Loved it in black and white. It pops so much in black and white.
I said, doing stuff in black and white, like I said, in itself is an art form, whether you do it in the comics or in movies.
Right.
True. It's an artistic choice.
You mentioned some of the local indie comics and getting away from big two. I remember when I first started coming to your store in 2016 is when I first started coming by, because it was the 50th anniversary of the first appearance of Black Panther in Marvel Comics, and they were doing variant covers, one variant cover every month to honor his 50th anniversary of being in Marvel Comics. Your store was probably one of the few that got those variants in every single month. And from there, I actually found Lion Forge and Excel and Noble, and I think a few others that I started collecting until those runs ended. So that pretty much, along with some of the people that we've already named, got me into looking for more indie artists to support and get into. So that I appreciate, because you tend to have things that a lot of the other shops in the area are not going to have.
You mean like when Marvel came out with all those hip hop covers?
Yeah.
Time out.
Your shop was the only one that had those.
Time.
What's up?
I'm not an administrator, but I'm going to ask that you switch me with Tanya, because she got so much to say in the comments. I feel like she needs to be on screen instead of me for this comic book discussion. So flip us out.
Welcome back,
Hey,
Tanya.
So yeah, but I definitely wanted to bring that up because again, the hip hop variants, like your shop, I don't know what you're doing, something special that the other shops that I used to frequent aren't doing. Like, I'm not gonna name one shop, but the one shop I went to was able to get me all of the original run of Ultimate Spider-Man from Peter Parker to Miles Morales. And then when that ended, I started my first subscriptions were at your shop for the initial Miles Morales run that you had. Never failed. It was always there. Cyborg's run, which DC tried to push. Green Lantern run for John Stewart that was short-lived. I appreciate you getting in specifically all the characters of color, because those are the characters I care about. Those are the characters I gravitate towards. So yeah, it's cool to go to the wall and see what's up there, and see your Wolverine, your Batman, and everything like that. That's nice, but I can always hear about those stories at some point or another. But I'm looking for the characters that look like me, right? So I love the fact that you always had champions in stock. You always had Ironheart on the shelf, and like I said, Lion Forge, with all those titles that you had, though that was great reading. I'm still reading through stuff, even though all of my subscriptions have ended, a few years back. But I'm still going through boxes and boxes of comics that I have not yet finished reading. So that was just, and again, the community of just being in there and educating people. Look, you're a resource to me. I know a lot of people, a lot of cats that I've met in the community over the last couple of years are younger than me, but just the way we kick it, talking about how sci-fi has evolved from what we said, like 3 or 4 shows in the late 80s to early 90s. And now you hit a streaming platform and it's odd if they don't have a sci-fi or fantasy show on. So,
right. Or how we would
like,
wait
that
for the
was great.
big superhero blockbuster. And now that's every couple of months thing.
Mhm.
For a minute, it was almost a monthly thing. Now you have to maybe wait quarterly. But I think that also goes into the conversation we always talk about not seeing enough Black characters in comics. Well, when the studios and the major publishers talk about those books don't sell, it's like with the Grammys and similar awards, it's really about what was ordered. So
Right.
those books aren't going to sell if they're not being ordered. And so you've got somebody like Tony that's regularly champion and he's ordering those books when they're available. Whereas if you got a shop that's just kind of we're going to call it a mainstream shop,
Mhm.
they are accustomed to being able to get by on the sales of, other books. We'll just call them other books that don't feature Black characters or any characters of color at all. And so there isn't the same drive and interest there for them to even go out on a limb and even consider those other titles because they're able to get by with Batman, Big Blue, the X-Men, and call it a day.
Right.
Like I said, I pointed out to many people on like many different channels that DC Blackout would have backfired tremendously. Okay, that was not going to be helpful to what any of us wanted to actually happen. But like I said, I'm going to support, the Black characters because I want, them to be able to be found when people are looking for them. But it's also up to you guys to make sure that you put these books on your subscription list and get them. Now, I'm not telling you to get everything that comes out or something that just isn't good.
Right.
Like I said, I know a lot of us and stuff are, Black Panther fans. And let's be honest, some of the Black Panther series that have come out recently were not worth our money. And, just because there's a Black creator doing the book does not mean that it's worth our money. All right. But, get out there and support the things that are good. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there and stuff too.
I'm going to raise my hand real quick and say that I'm probably one of the few that actually liked Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Black Panther because of how different it was. It was more political driven than anything else. Like if you were looking for an action adventure for Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, you weren't getting that. It was more of, this is the political climate of Wakanda after Namor had just flooded, the whole country, and we're rebounding and recovering from that. And while we're dealing with that, we got a prison break that we have to deal with and tracking down a couple of fugitives. And while we're dealing with that, we have to deal with how the government's going to, go forward and everything. So for me, that was enjoyable reading because it was more of either, I won't say rebuilding, but reestablishing the world of Wakanda, if you will, as far as how this country operates and works with so many different levels, from leadership on down to just logistics and everything. So I enjoyed the Ta-Nehisi Coates run. I know a lot of people turned their nose up at it, but
I will be an oddball with you. I enjoy those books as well, but I think that we're seeing a general evolution in comics all around where we've kind of gotten away from You know, I used to always talk about Smallville and the Freak of the Week. We've kind of gotten away from
Yeah.
this idea that every comic is really going to be this short 2 or 3 issue story arc where they're fighting this, you know, the villain of the week, or, you know, maybe it's somebody from the Rogues Gallery. And so I appreciated that difference. And I'm a fan of world building. So to me, that added an additional dimension that you didn't always see in those
Yes.
books. So I liked it. But, you know, everything isn't for everyone.
That is true.
But I still think that one of the major things that I talk about, and I've said it endlessly on panels, if you want to see books with people that look like you have to buy the books. And that means that you have to find places like Tony's store that has those books on hand. You're not going to find those books, for instance, you might be able to find them on Amazon, but those books they're not going to have mass marketed commercials. They're not going to be presented to you on Amazon. You're unlikely to see it pop up as a recommended book for you.
Right.
It's not going to have an Amazon we suggest attached to it. So you have to make the effort. It has to be a thought process of, I'm going to go and investigate, and I'm going to go find. There are plenty of publishers out there. There are plenty of platforms out there. When you guys were talking about color earlier, Tony has heard me scream this a million times. I was also involved in Terminus. I keep telling people, fans really want stories and they really want art. Sorry to all of my colors friends and all of my deep hardcore inker friends out there. There are really 3 components to the book, right? It's the story and the art, and then there's this physical thing. But the world is moving away from the physical thing. So I'm always telling people that if the holdup in getting your masterpiece out there is that you're trying to come up with some money for the color, let that go. Get the book out there, get the color later. And the thing that makes me craziest about all of it is that these same people have shelves and shelves of manga. It's all black and white, and
Yes,
they
it
don't
is.
care. So I'm not understanding this argument and the belief that your book that's a tenth the size must have color and a glossy cover, and it's got to be on slick, you know, acid-free paper. I am telling you, put your book out there on the newsprint. If enough people like your book, if
Yes.
you get some kind of tie-in media deal, it will be in color later. You can go back and color for the trade. Tony
Yeah.
knows I'm notorious for wandering through once every 2 years and getting a trade of something that I didn't read. You can get the trade in color later, but just get your stuff out there. Getting good quality content out there makes it available. It makes these other people shut up about the books aren't selling. People can only buy what's available to them. I always talk about a lot of the world's greatest art is trapped on somebody's hard drive and down in their basement. Only they've seen it and a couple of close friends. You've got to get away from that. There's too many people that'll be happy beta readers for you. Join one of these. Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to tell you. Don't join any of those comic book things on Facebook and whatnot. They're just toxic hell. Find you some people offline.
Yes.
Go to conventions, talk to people, find some fans, show them your book. You know, what were they called? Ash cans. Back in the day, people would go and they make a couple of Xerox copies, staple that mess together, and they would walk around and give them away.
Yeah.
Do that. No one is going to turn away your good Xerox copy if it's really good. And don't let yourself be prohibited by art. I see a lot of people who are like, well, I can't afford this artist that I want. I love my artist friends too. Get your book out. The writing is the part that people are going to find most important. I have freely talked about, I won't even bring it up here. There were several books that I had followed for years and they got like a really bad artist. And I still struggle read the book, but tried not to look at the panel. One of the most difficult things ever. Because I'm like, I actually look at the art, it's going to make me hate the book. And I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, because I know that the story is still great. They've just got this weirdo that's making everybody look like they're on roids, and it's making me crazy. But get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, so that people like Tony can sell your book.
Right. 100%.
And we can keep brick and mortar stores alive, because I already said why buying everything online is not the business. Although I do love all of my online publishers. There are lots of great sites out there. Definitely go. A lot of them let you read a couple of pages of the book. And I'm one of these people that I spend money because I work hard, so I feel like I can spend the money that I made however I want to make it. But at the same time, I always tell people, when you're talking about I don't have money for this and I don't have money for that, you have to break it down in your head. Like when I go in the store and I look at the prices of steaks, I'm like, youch, they want $26 for 2 T-bones. Well, but the fact of it is, if I throw a 50-cent potato on it and a $1 bag of lettuce, which is actually the same brand that they use at that particular place where I would go to get the steak, I still have 2 steak dinners for the cost of one had I gone out.
True.
And you need to look at your comic consumption in the same way, or whatever it is that you do. If you do video games or whatever, I see people crying all the time about the cost of video games. Yeah, I think it's a bit crazy, but at the same time, if I pay $89 for the original game and I've been paying it an entire year, and maybe every second quarter they ask me for $10, and the clock says that I've played for 3,200 hours, okay, well then what did I spend per hour?
Right.
I've gotten well more than my $90 worth. And so you need to look at your comics and the stories the same way.
We're going to have an
collection
episode about
edition,
gaming.
those special editions for $90, right?
Yeah, you know me. Sometimes I'll go big, but I'm a fan of the base game. And then if I get in there and I'm like, okay, and you just stay out of this, Mr. Simmons. You just because he and I,
What
This
did I do
guy,
now?
no, I could feel it through the camera.
I didn't do anything.
Sometimes I buy the base game, and then if I get in there and I play a little bit and I like it, then I'll upgrade a little bit. What you will never get me to do though is spend $56 for some digital clothes for my digital character.
Oh yeah, no.
That just isn't happening. I found out the other day that a friend of mine did that, and I really had to pause because I was like, I thought I knew you. What do you mean you're spending $30 on in-game clothes?
Right.
I was like, hey. And if you're doing that, then you definitely need to go to Tony's store and buy black books.
Right.
I said what I said. If you got money for a fake horse and some digital clothes, then I'm needing you to support stuff in the real world.
My problem is it's not just video games and comic books. It's also Funko Pops and manga and Lego sets that I've been putting together.
That's the way that life as a geek works. You're not allowed to have one geeky thing.
Nah, trust me,
you have to have all the things. It's like being a creative. If you're a creative person, you got to have all the things. Like I don't know a single person that's like, oh yeah, I just make costumes. If you go to their houses, oh, I make costumes and I knit and I paint and I've got these Funkos and sometimes I play video games and I write poetry and I'm in a band.
Oh, slightly off topic.
This little thing I just recently put together.
Oh,
okay.
What is that?
It's a Miles Morales mask from Spider-Man. So yeah, that I just, and that's probably the least amount of time I've spent putting together anything. It only took 90 minutes. Everything else took about 10 hours.
Oh, and speaking about supporting creatives, we even have crochet meetups here at Challenges Games and Comics.
Well, we do have another creative backstage I want to bring up real quick while he's waiting. Mark, if you don't mind.
Say what?
I said we do have one of those creatives backstage waiting right now.
Yes.
You let me go. I've said my piece. Out there buying manga, you will live buying an indie book with this black and white. Say what I said. I'm gonna have to go with a bumper sticker and some t-shirts or something, because I'm gonna start drilling that home hardcore.
So when we started Terminus Media, our first 2 books were black and white anthologies.
And ash cans. We printed ash cans.
The ash cans were for San Diego Comic-Con, right?
I forgot about those.
Yeah.
That was an interesting truth. I forgot about the ash can.
Yes, I would like to thank you, James, for coming on and talking comics with us. But I would like to welcome to the show Mr. Marcus Williams, the visual. How are you doing today, sir?
I like how you edited my name there. That's pretty dope. I'm Marcus Williams, the visual. I mean, that's cool. I like it. It works. What's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
How's it going, Marcus?
It's going good, man. What's going on with you?
I just trying to make plans and I hope they had come through.
All right, man. Listen, worst case scenario, I say we just find a parking lot and just put up like a really big circus tent every weekend and just do a pop-up, man. It's not really that hard. You know what I'm saying? There's be a little bit of back and forth, but they can't stop us until the cops show up.
And depending upon where you put it, they're not coming. Or not anytime soon.
Exactly. See, it's all about creative, you know what I'm saying? Crackhead energy. You don't really have to stay in one spot. You know, as long as if you're fast enough, they go, who's in charge? We don't know. Yeah. Keep it moving. Yes.
Right. But thank you for coming on. We, about 30 minutes ago, was literally talking all the good, positive things about you and Greg Burnham and your artwork and his storytelling. So thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for this being your first time on the show. But why don't you go ahead and start with telling us some of your favorite memories or a funny story that you might have of Tony Cade or just of anything that you may have done inside of challenges, because you're up there a lot.
Yeah, no, it's been a beautiful decade, man. I can speak on Tony, and I have to a lot of people when they're talking about, hey man, is there any comic shops in Atlanta? And it's always been a super quick answer. I'm like, you've been in challenges, right? You know, I've had celebrities ask. I've worked with people in the industry that are coming through and coming in. It's like, where the Black-owned bookstores? I was like, that's an easy answer. Go to challenges. Talk to your man, Tony Cade. Let me know. Really, really been a great decade. We've been working on Tuskegee since 2016. So Tony was one of the first easy, fast adopters, supporters, as far as comic shops and retailers go. And it's, and here's the thing. And this is how I can frame Tony and his support for the community, and I always have. And it's not to make anyone else sound bad. So let me preface that this is not to make anyone else sound bad, but Tony set the bar so high that it kind of makes everybody else look bad. Not on purpose, but that's just the way it is. So, for instance, when it comes to supporting independent artists, and I can speak for us. I don't know about everybody. I can speak to how Tony has treated us. Obviously, I know he has supported everybody else, but I'm speaking from my perspective. So when you're dealing with retailers, especially, let's say you got an independent comic, you're excited, you go to a comic shop, and we've done this around Atlanta, all the way to Gwinnett County and abroad, right? And you feel good. You talk to the owner and you're like, hey man, can I sell my comic book here? They're like, all right, we give it a shot. Give me 3 of them, So you're like, all right, 3, here you go. And here's the status quo. If you guys don't understand this, you may sell those 3 comic books, right? Through no effort of your own. It's just in the shop. You leave it there, hoping it'll grow and reach its customer base, right? And in most cases, those 3 books have sold weeks ago. And the owner of the shop or the manager or whoever's doing the books, they will not say a single word. You have to go back to the shop and be like, hey, what's up, man? I'm just checking on them books. You got any Tuskegee Airs on the shelf? Actually, I think we're sold out, actually. Right. Well, when are you gonna let us know? I got them in the car if you want some more. Tony, on the opposite of that, would be like, I sold out yesterday. I need some more books. We're like, damn, all right, cool. How many you need? Give me 10. Okay, 10. Sold out of those. Greg, Marcus, bring some more books up. Right? He set the bar high on not just, supporting, but also keeping it in front of his actual customer base. We had fans that could go to his shop, and we were confident to send people to his shop because he always kept us on tap, and it wasn't anything that we had to beg him for. It was just, that's what it takes to actually really support independent artists. And it really does help because, you know, he would post pictures of families walking out with our book. You know, we would be able to share, hey, y'all, check this out. Tony is killing it. Y'all need to be more like Tony. So that's the kind of thing where he set the bar really high, man. And it would be, again, I'm not talking bad about anybody else, but when you have to fight the actual comic book store manager to actually say, hey, I think it's successful. You keep selling out. You want to maybe increase it past 5 books? No, just give me another 3. Okay. Oh, all right. We'll be back, I guess. You let us know, though, when you're ready. And for instance, there was a time when we started putting posters packaged with the comic book to kind of make sure people saw the books on the shelves. And it worked really well. Like, we had people coming, you know, from all over collecting because we put different posters. This is a game. I'm giving this away for free, y'all. You know, and the posters were collectible, you know, kind of like Pokemon cards. Like, you had to go to different shops to collect the posters. We never had to do that with Tony. It was working for these other shops, and we got to set the price a little higher than just the price of the comic. And it would work. They'd sell out, and then we would hear crickets, man. They never update us. We had to go back in physically, drive to these shops and be like, hey, we checking. I don't see the book on the shelf. Oh, yeah, we sold out, man. When? It looks like 2 weeks ago. Right.
Wow.
Right. I have this thing called a phone number and an email. You could always use that. Let us know. Never had to do that with Tony, man. So respect and always, man, support goes to Tony with anybody I've ever talked to that's ever asked about who do I go to, where do I start. Every independent comic creator that's aspiring, I'm like, you got to find the right store. You got to find the right, you know, retailer that is going to support you. So my hat's off to you, man. All respect, Tony. You know, it's not a hard thing to ever support this man or send support his way. So it sucks what's going on with that shop, but like I said, man, you're gonna have to find you a park and just, you know, pop up. We're just gonna have a pop-up tent and just keep it going, man. You know, if you're okay with the flies or anything like that, Nats, heat, we're gonna get you some fans, whatever we need, man. You need your own location permanently, man. Somewhere where, but it doesn't really matter where you go. I'm gonna keep supporting you. I'm gonna keep sending support your way. He supported us over this 10-year plus. So that's the kind of, you know, retailers we need everybody to be connected to and everybody to show support to. So much love to him, man. My hat's off to you, sir. You're living legend is kind of where, you know, you're gonna have to get you either a chain. You okay with wearing necklaces or chains, Tony? We gotta get you a chain that says living legend. We gotta work on that.
All
I said
right.
statue.
Sounds good.
We need a statue of him somewhere with like a stack
Somewhere.
of
Yeah.
Stone Mountain. You know what? We've been meaning to fix that issue with Stone Mountain. We can
That's
immortalize
good
him
stuff.
there. Let's carve him on the mountain.
That's
Before you
good
go,
stuff.
Mr. Williams, the visual, Mr. Marcus
sir.
Williams.
Yeah.
It might be presumptuous if I ask this, but I'm only asking this because of what you just said about how you got started with putting your book in Tony's store. But do you think Tuskegee Airs and you yourself will be as successful if you hadn't gotten your books inside Tony's store?
So I'll break it down in terms of the business side. So comic book shops have to sell at retail. So they buy the book. We have to sell the book usually at a wholesaler price. Okay, so we're not actually making as much money when we sell retail. Okay, it's a common practice. It's like marketing. You know, when you're trying to market, you don't always make the money back. It's a system of saying if you pay for a billboard, that billboard may cost anywhere between $1,500 to a couple thousand, depending on the location. But you can't quantifiably equate. I just spent $1,500, so I'm going to get $1,500 back, right? Retail has to buy at wholesale prices. You have to sell you have to put your book in the store at a lower rate than what you would sell it a lot of times, on your website or in person. But here's the trick: plugging into a proper retailer like Tony and Challenges, right? Like everything I just mentioned, it's not just about getting money back. So it's hard to say, would we have been successful? You have to quantify what is success. Financial success, we make, a lot more money per sale every time we go to a show if we're talking about making financial gain. Plugging into a retailer that actually supports your vision, your comic, you as a creative, is not just cash quantifiable. So I would say absolutely it's imperative to plug into people that support you as an independent by doing more than just making sales. Tony upsells to people that he's plugged into. These are new customers looking and searching for the proper product. So if you have two parents coming into the comic shop, Tony isn't just selling them, blood and gore if they got two kids with them, two little kids, right? So a proper retailer talks to their consumer and says, well, what are you guys looking for? Man, do you have any, safe comics for my kids? Preferably anything that features Black characters, and Tony has a whole plethora, of independent comic creators. And we're a part of that list where he says, I got the just thing. So it's not just about that. Now you've created a fan who would not have. And again, I have a really strong belief that there's a customer, and then there's a fan. If you actually make a fan, they function similar to a customer, as in they buy the product, but a fan will actually follow your work and your product for years to come. And we're not there to do that job. Tony is. He's actually saying, I got just the thing for you and your kids and your family. Have you heard of Tuskegee-Airs? Right? That's kind of really hard to quantify in terms of, if we didn't have a retailer like Tony, would we have had the same impact? There's absolutely no way to say, would we have the same reach? No, because we don't have a store. We don't have a shop. Families aren't coming to my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm not selling books out of my house, right? Even if we have a website, you still don't have that personal interaction where the parents can actually trust the person that's selling them this book, to say, yes, this is for you. So I think it's very important to say it's not just financial success. We do that as much as we can. That's why we go to so many shows and we travel over these last 10 years. That's the kind of stuff where, we have to look at it as a synergy. It's a system of support where we have to do our job, and we find retailers that's going to help, with that process of not just selling the book. Money is nice. We just roll that back in. Again, it's marketing in terms of business, right? But the real key is Tony knows his consumers, and he can actually plug in and get our books to the right place. It's not just about selling, hey, you like Black kids, no, it's like, hey, this book is what you're looking for. So I think it's crucial. If you understand the business of comics and you understand the business of actually having a goal of reaching the right consumers, you got to plug into the right retailers. And Marvel and DC understand this. They've been in business for so long that it's almost like McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't even have to say McDonald's anymore, right? So if you understand, the consumer understands the product long enough, no one has to explain who Batman is, right? It's just the legacy product.
No, that's the big facts. And thank you for the knowledge you were secretly dropping about just building a brand and all that. That actually is perfect for a future episode of Blerdkast. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate you so much for just taking this time out to honor Tony Cade and just further explain like what his store being physically open means to not only you but to the community. Because you're right. Even other comic book retailers, they just want your money. You want the community to understand what they are purchasing. There are several times where I've gone into your store and you was like, hey, I know you're trying to just support the business, but you already own that issue. Why don't you get this? Or why don't you check this out or look at this? And you always direct me to something else. So that is wonderful. But again, thank you, Marcus the Visual Williams, for coming on. Is Joy still back there? She gone. Hey, Joy. Before we go, I do want to share just one or two stories of me personally and Tony's shop. Tony, you do a lot of things. You help the community. You do STEM work. with the community. After school program work, you work with a lot of gamer life. You work with a lot of indie creators. You host events in your store. You do gaming events. My favorite thing been that I've done in your store has been your Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and your Magic the Gathering tournaments from my high school and college era of life. And the reason why is because growing up for me, um, in the black community, it wasn't super cool to be nerdy until I came across your shop and saw all the other black nerds gathering there every Saturday to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh my God, I spent so much money in high school at your store. I'm just remembering that, but like later on when I venture off into college and even just in my adulthood, you let me come in and practice my camera work. I've done photo shoots in your store. I've done video shoots in your store. You've let me come in. You've let my friends come in and just do whatever and not ask for a single dime out of us. And I even remember me and you went back and forth a couple years ago about me coming and doing stuff. I was like, no, if I'm making money in your business, you need to make money in the business. You was like, no, just come in and build something and help the community. You do so much. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Me doing this and me wanting to help you out is for selfish reasons because I need your store to physically be open. I think a lot of your customers feel the same way, that they're helping you out because selfishly they need you to be open because of everything that you do for the community. There needs to be a statue of you somewhere in Atlanta, next to a lot of the great Atlantean ATLians, as I should say, who have helped build not only the community of Atlanta and the culture of Atlanta, but the black culture of the city as well.
It needs to be in the Blade outfit, though.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It has to be in the Blade costume.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, somebody out there has photographs of me in the Blade costume. Like I said, unfortunately, it was so long ago. It was before everybody was walking around with cell phones. So
Just a hard copy picture.
and I had like, a much sleethier, Tony, back when I had the 6-pack instead of the abs.
That's
Well, if
awesome.
you posted it on Facebook at any point, it's definitely findable.
It's on Facebook somewhere. Because
Okay.
I've seen it. Bits and pieces of it, but I've seen it. Before we go, Mr. Tony Cade, I have to ask you, because you put so much time, effort, and energy into the city of Atlanta, I have to ask you, what is your favorite thing about the city of Atlanta?
My favorite thing about the city of Atlanta?
Yes.
The fact that I kind of like think of it as, this is as close as we're going to get to Wakanda.
Yeah.
This is our city. And, strangely enough, it's like if, federal troops decide to roll in, they're going to meet some, resistance, because we're not going to let them do just any old thing here in our city.
Not in Fulton County. This ain't what you want.
Oh, like I said, the cab going to represent too.
Yep.
100%. 100%.
Oh, but real quick, I want to point out to you guys because the show's only an hour and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna go over a little bit anyway, but the floor is yours.
Okay, a little insider information here. All right, when I was talking about the DC blackout thing, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and point out and stuff that DC does care about representation. Okay, for those of you that have checked it out, they're gonna have Static is gonna be joining the New Titans with issue number 38.
Okay.
All right, I can go ahead and tell you there is going to be a limited edition cover. All right, that will only be available at black-owned comic shops for when this book comes out. All right, there's a group that will let themselves be known soon publicly. I'm kind of like, little information slip now of basically a group of black retailers. And we have been working with DC Comics. And I personally have had meetings with DC Comics, and we have talked to them about the quality of books with black characters. And that, I personally, pointed out and stuff is that you guys need to do the same marketing for these books that you do for the Absolute Series books.
Yes.
And while you're at it, why not make sure it's the same quality as those books? All right. That will get you out there. All right. When they did the new history of the DC universe with the Dakota incident, they literally did not expect that book to be anywhere near as successful as it was. They said they were extremely surprised. And that was basically because of the social media marketing that Joe Illich did. Imagine if the company itself had actually done that type of marketing. So they do hear us. They are going to, make some moves, but we need to get out there and make sure that when, certain titles come out, and there will be titles coming out starring Black characters, all right, that you put these books on your subscription list so that your local store will order them, or you can just go to challengesgames.com and order them off of ours, and we'll be more than happy to ship them to you. But, make sure you order the books. Be proactive and not reactive.
Right.
All right. And that's going to create the change that we want. But like I said, make them create something to put out something that's going to be the quality of what you want. But remember, the main color that they're attracted to is color green.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. That's going to be on the publisher level. That's going to be in a retailer level. All right. I order more, of our stuff than anybody else, except for a few other Black-owned retailers, because I know I can sell it. All right. We need to convince the other store owners that it is worth their time and investment to get these books in. Why should I order this book instead of whatever the new hot Batman is or the new hot Spider-Man is? Because let's be honest, those are the two hottest books anybody ever cares about. Right. X-Men isn't even as hot as it was anymore. So when the books are out there, get out there and support them. Don't complain. Spend money on it. And that will get their attention.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yes, excellent.
I'm glad to see DC doing better, because the last time I tried to get into DC Comics, it was a Cyborg run and a Black Lightning run. And the Black Lightning run, I was mad, was only 6 issues because it should have been longer. It was a well-written story. 6 issues was not enough. I was pissed when I found out that, because as you pick up the comic, and it's going to be short because they put literally 1 of 6 on the cover.
Right.
And I'm like, this is some BS. And the Cyborg run that I read, I was really trying to get into it, but the person who was writing it did not understand Cyborg. The art was phenomenal, but the story was, this person did not understand Cyborg at a base level of just being who and what he is. Because I don't think it was a person of color writing Cyborg at the time.
Probably not. And then to your point about the 1 of 6 run, it sounds like one of those things where they say, we'll give it a trial and we'll see how it does. And it's only going to be 1 out of 6. And even when it does well, that was nice. We're not going to renew, or we're not going to expand. And then a year later, they'll go, well, it only did 6 issues. We're not sure if it could go any further. You didn't give it a chance. It had a following. It had people looking for it. You cut it off at 6 and then blamed it for being 6 long. That's systemic racism.
Right. And that's been the issue with Black Lightning, because Black Lightning has never had a real long run throughout the history of DC Comics. It's always gotten short runs of, maybe a year or 2 max, but nothing long standing like everyone else has.
Now,
the number they look at, like I said, a lot of times, like I said, they are expecting the books to fail.
Yeah.
We need to change their expectations, and don't just go out and buy the first issue. Yes, everybody goes, I get the first issue. They think it might be the first appearance of some new character or a collector's item issue, blah, blah, blah. All right. People out there who enjoy reading comic books, don't let the speculators control the market. Get out there and read the books. If the book is good, tell your friends that the book is good so they can get on the subscription service. Don't just assume that your comic shop is going to have it on the shelf when you come in to get it. You got to let them know that you want the book by adding it to your subscription service. Because if it's on your subscription service, it's automatically going to be ordered from them. They don't go by and say, oh, well, we don't really think he's going to pick this book up, so we're not going to order that many. If you make the commitment to the book, they automatically make commitments to the book.
Perfect. That's really good. That's really good. And let me ask you this before we go. Two questions. How can someone get on a Challenges Games and Comics subscription service if they are interested in doing that and pre-ordering some comics through your store?
Oh, see, it's this really complex thing. You go to challengescomics.com, all right, and you look right up there at the top, and it will say comic subscriptions, and you click on that button.
Perfect. That's so easy.
Very complex situation.
It's so easy. I did it as you was explaining it.
It's right there on the website, and we are completely set to ship whatever you need, especially if you're doing it. And like I said, I have literally pallets of Gemini mailers. I supply the indie creators here in Atlanta with their Gemini mailers. So, we got it shipped. We can get it to you nice and safe.
Perfect. Last question, and then we can go ahead and end the show. You've been in business for 30 plus years. You've been a nerd your entire life. What has been your favorite part of your career as a business owner in this nerdy space in particular?
I guess one of my favorite things and stuff is like, a few weeks ago, a bunch of my customers showed up that had been with me, since I was they were teenagers, and we were on Memorial Drive, and my shop was like a haven for them because it was where they could be themselves. They could be as nerdy as they wanted to be. Now when they stepped outside, they had that code switching down. They'd be sitting there talking about, the Hulk versus whoever, and then one minute, then they step outside and the girl walked by and be like, yo, what's up, shorty? But while they were in the store, they were all into that nerdum, and it kept them off the streets. And now these guys are like 40-year-old men, and they're coming into my store with their kids. And, that just, gives me a really good feeling. And, another part and stuff is we've had screenwriters classes here in the store. We've had artist meetups, art classes. When people that, have come through my store or worked with us when we were with Terminus Media, and now to see them doing work for Marvel and DC, makes me, feel good.
Yeah.
That, I actually, help somebody, fulfill their dream.
That's wonderful. And again, that's the whole reason why you're here. You've helped not only me, but so many other people just be safe and stay off the streets. Not that I cannot. Oh my God, high school. Yeah, that I cannot condone enough. I was in your store every Saturday without fail. So many other people. I remember that. But you've done so much good work. I hope you continue to do so much good work. And I wish you the luck. This is probably one of the hardest episodes I had to do. Just because it's your store. It's a place that I grew up, spent 15, 20 years of my life. I'm almost 40 myself. And just to see you have to go through this again, it's a little sad and heartbreaking, but I know you're going to get through this, and I know you're going to be better than ever, because you always seem to be bigger when you go through some situations like this, because I remember where you were before, and I see where you are now. You are definitely continuing to do the Lord's work. But thank you so much for coming on. I hope this episode helps get some awareness to your GoFundMe campaign. I hope you find a store soon, sooner than later, because I don't think you need to have any time off. We need to go from the mall to wherever you at, and we just keep it moving like nothing happened. But
that's what we're gonna try to do.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna try to do.
We're not slowing down. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, I had chess tournaments for kids going on up here. Last week and stuff, we did the thing with Juneteenth in the mall, and I had the speakers and stuff come in from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This week coming up, We got the pre-release for the new Marvel set from Magic the Gathering. You know, we're gonna just keep clicking.
Perfect. Just one more time, where can everybody find you on the internet if they are looking to purchase comics or just follow you and see what you and the store is doing?
Oh, right here, right next to my name, yeah, it says challengesgames.com.
All right, perfect.
And you can contact me through there or just email me at info@challengesgames.com or friend me on Facebook, Tony Cade. I'm the one that's not the football player and not the real estate agent, you know.
Okay. James, where can everybody find you on the internet? You're rarely on the show, but if people want to follow you and see what you're up to.
Instagram, Threads, pretty much where I cause the most havoc and chaos. And on the Moana Nui podcast every month, talking about anything nerdy or sports.
All right, perfect. And Miss Joy, you get the last.
You can find me at Joyride08 on Instagram and Threads. Is where I do most of my stuff. Or you can't find me. Don't look for me nowhere else.
Perfect.
Hey, Joy, when are you doing a show when you're going to like show off all your ink?
You know, so the ink is in places that require, you know, some levels to it. Like I
thought there was an after dark show. Wasn't there an after dark show you guys do?
Moana Nui After Dark does
okay.
it. You know what? I may not show it in real life because, you know, we talking torso and hip. I can show you my I can never show this tiger correctly online, but that's the tiger that I got in the back of Tony's shop. That was the first one I did, the Yin Yang Tigers. There's a gigantic dragon on my torso that I got in the back of Tony's shop. And now there is a mermaid, and I just added a moon to her landscape. There's a Mami Wata mermaid on my butt that I also got in Tony's shop. And I'll put pictures of those the next time. But you can, if you find me on Threads or on Facebook, I put up pictures of all my ink. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Thank you, and Flores.
Perfect. But thank you all for coming on to the show tonight. Tony, again, I wish you so much success. But for everybody else, this has been Blerdkast. Join us next week on Monday, 8 p.m. normal time for Fathers in Nerdy Spaces. That is going to be a very fun and interesting episode. And then we have so much more interesting things coming up in the month of July while we're in this convention drought because of FIFA. But anyway, that's the show. Later.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. If this the land of the free, was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it cedar lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. The work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will. So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom, clapped back at the system. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Then work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If he won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If he won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If he won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If he won't tell it, we will. We will.